Bread and Salt, original title Chleb i Sól, is out in theaters. New Polish indie film, feature debut of writer-director Damian Kocur, starring Tymoteusz and Jacek. It's inspired by a real-life story that happened in one of Poland's small towns back in 2017 and centered around tensions between the immigrant owners of a kebab shop and the local community. And not to spoil too much, but the fault was basically entirely on the local community, which consisted mainly of young men without jobs, without perspectives, and without avenues to channel their energy other than racism and straight up violence. Now, I wasn't going to go see the movie. I knew nothing about it, and it didn't pop up on my radar on its own. But then my girlfriend informed me that we're essentially 1 degree of separation away from knowing the people in it, the brothers who play the lead roles. We've met another brother of theirs, so it became this sort of thing where we went to see it almost to see someone we almost kind of know, and also to support small independent filmmaking, which is always a good choice in my book. And I have to say I was quite pleasantly surprised by the film. It follows Tymek, a young pianist who's studying at an arts academy in Warsaw, in Poland's capital. He comes back for the summer holidays to the small town that he's from, and because there's nothing else to do, he begins hanging out with his brother and his friends from the neighborhood. And they're the very epitome of the sort of stereotypical small town Polish youth, swearing all the time, drinking beer all day, harassing people left and right, and being just downright awful and doing nothing with their lives. And to top it all off, they become increasingly hostile towards the owners of the kebab, at which they spend a lot of their time and money anyway. And so the conflict comes from Tymek, who on the one hand has clearly sort of outgrown this type of behavior and is successfully doing something with his life outside of this little town, this little microcosm. And he even pushes his brother to, try harder and follow in his footsteps. He doesn't want him to just stay there forever. But on the other hand, there is a strong element of peer pressure. There's an element of these being people that he's known for a long time and he doesn't want to antagonize. And there's an element also of, I think, cowardice, of the difficulty to stand up for what's right and to stop the others before things get out of hand. And at the end of the day, I think that's what the film is truly about, because as much as it provides a scathing comment on the small town culture of Polish youth and plays with the idea of, hard work and ambition, helping leave all of that behind, at the end of the day, it primarily explores the idea of someone who, for many reasons, doesn't do anything to stop a bad situation, who perhaps thinks of himself as, trying to do better, trying to be a positive influence, but at the end of the day failing because he's reducing himself to the role of the passive observer. And yeah, I don't think that these ideas are explored in a very subtle way. The film is rather straightforward and easy to read, but that's okay because it says what it wants to say, and it does so sort of efficiently. I was really pleased with the performances, especially Tymek, who I believe is not a professional actor in real life. And so it's remarkable that for someone not trained in acting, he's doing such a convincing job. I also like the idea of the brothers playing pianists, because they're actual pianists in real life, and because of that they were able to play all those scenes where they actually perform the music, so that's very cool. I thought that the cinematography was excellent. It's very clear that the movie was made with a tiny budget, yet it makes absolutely full use of it. It looks really great. And I also want to say that it's very good at crafting this feeling of uneasiness at experiencing all those awful situations, like the guys harassing the kebab owners while sitting in their establishment, or that excellent scene happening on the bus. There's just a real sense of awful awkwardness coming out of those, perhaps because I've experienced similar moments in my life. I mean, growing up in a small town, I can attest that as stereotypical as it seems, some of those portrayals are sadly true. The one thing I didn't particularly like is the ending. Specifically, in my opinion, the film should have restrained itself and should have ended with a cut to black about 20-30 seconds earlier than it actually does, because it sets up a very specific ending earlier on, and then it goes towards that, but then it can't help itself and extends for another close-up, and I think the very final shot takes away from the emotional impact of the scene as a whole. But other than that, yeah, I think it's a pretty good indie film. Go check it out.